Hello bakers, and welcome back to another episode. Welcome back to my channel. What have I got in store for you today? Well, today's going to be in two parts. I am going to show you how to make pie crust. At the same time, I'm also going to make a pork and sage pie. So, sorry, excuse me. So the first part will be how to make the pie crust. The second part of the video, which you can skip forward to, will be how to make the overall. But you will need to know how to make the pie crust to be able to make the end pie. So, all the ingredients are in the description down below. So let's get started. You will need a food processor for this. If you haven't got a food processor, don't worry, you can do it by hand. You can just use a fork like I have done in the past. So, let's get straight in. Let's make this pastry. Oh, by the way, here's the finished pie for you to look at. Here we go, let's go. So I'm doing mine in the food processor. It's really, really quick. The number one tip for this is your butter must be super cold. Mine, in fact, is still in the fridge. So what do we do first? Well, we get all of our dry ingredients and we pop it into here. If you are doing this by hand, please make sure that all of the dry ingredients are well mixed in before you start the second step. So mine are in, and all I'm going to do to mix that is pulse it. And one more. And there we go, that is pulsed. So, what's the next step? The next step is to add your chilled butter. And again, I cannot stress enough, this butter must be super cold. Mine's in the fridge. Okay, so super cold butter, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to the food processor, and I am spreading it out. I don't know if you can see that. I don't want it to start in one big lump. And then we're going to pop the lid on, and I'm going to pulse this for about between 20 and 40 seconds. So here goes. And there we go. If you're doing it in the food processor, you'll see it all clumps together, and that's it. It's done. Don't overdo it. That is all you will need. So next, what you're going to do, you're going to want some cling film, and we're going to want to tip this into our cling film. And I'm literally, if I take that off there we go. Just destroy everything in the process, and I want you to tip. The dishwasher finished. I want you to tip all of that out and kind of squash it into one lump, and then wrap it up. And that is literally all I want you to do with it, is wrap it up, and then I want you to pop this into your fridge for a minimum of an hour, minimum. Ideally 2 hours, or overnight is fine as well, but 2 hours it should be plenty. I'm going to come back in about an hour and a half, and then I'm going to start the next step. So what I'm doing with mine is I'm doing just a top of the pie crust. Now you can use this pie crust, it's very versatile for something sweet, something savoury, meat pies, whatever you like really. Now if you want to do a full pie, obviously you're going to need to double the recipe, but also what you'll do is you'll need to put your base layer of your pastry in, poke some holes in with a fork, overlap the pastry dish, just because in case it shrinks, and you're going to want to blind bake this for about 15 minutes at 200 degrees in the oven. And that ensures that you've got a nice crispy base. So yes, that's my tips for that one. If you have never blind baked before, basically once you've lined that your pastry dish and you've poked your holes in, put some parchment paper on, and you can buy baking beans, you can use dry rice, you can use dry beans, just to keep it weighted down. Once that has happened, once you've done that and you've taken that out of the oven, let that base cool down before you add your innards and then your top. So yes, that's my tips on the pastry. I'll be right back to you for the fillings. Okay, so we're back and we're going to do the pie filling. So before we do, I just want to give a quick shout out, because I forgot earlier to give a shout out to fatforweightloss.com for the pastry that we've got in the fridge for this recipe. It's their recipe that I've been using for quite a while now. It's absolutely amazing. I've tried so many others and this one just seems to work. So, yes, the meat filling, the pie filling. So we're doing pork and sage, which gives you the impression of a pork and stuffing style. So, like I've said before, everything you need is in the description below. Let's get cracking. So I have, at the moment, I've got on some swede, rutabaga, peeled and chopped, diced into little squares. There's about 250 grams in there, but once boiled down it weighs about 200 grams. So that's on the way there now. I'm now just going to turn on my other hob, and for that what I want you to do is to saute your onions basically until they're transparent. So in the pan, just make sure the close-up is on, you're just going to want a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, not extra virgin, just your normal, because if you use the extra virgin it's got a lower burning point, so it will smoke and taste not so good. So we'll get that on, and then what we're going to do is turn our onions into the pan. So that's one small onion. And like I say, you're just going to want to do this until they are translucent. So I will fast forward this and I'll be back to you as soon as the onions are translucent. Okay, so my onions are cooking away there. My swede or my rutabaga is nearly just starting to get al dente, so still hard on the inside but soft on the outside. Now, if you're not using pre-cooked pork like myself, and you're using pork mince or grinds or peas, whatever meat you're using, now would be the time to add that to the onions and cook that through until it's nice and browned off. I don't need to, obviously, so what I've done now in between is I've weighed out all my dry ingredients, popped it all into one little bowl. Let's talk about the stock quickly as well. So you can buy in places like Lidl, Aldi, Morrison's, Asda, wherever you shop, you can buy chicken broth or chicken stock in a packet pre-made for you, and it's got no carbs in it because it's made like a bone broth. So I'm using that. There are recipes out there for you to make your own as well, and if you do, well, extra points for you. So I've used one of those. So next, what goes in? We're going to add in, I'm using obviously roast pork, so in that goes leftovers from the Sunday dinner, which makes this pie great for leftovers. And just give that a good stir through. And you just want to heat that pork through, so just so it gets to a nice temperature. So this pie makes for 4. So I'm using a dish like so you can easily just cut it into 4. The filling itself works out at 4 carbs per portion, and the topping, the pastry, is 2 carbs per portion. So in total you can have this pie per portion at 6 carbs each. That's amazing. And I also challenge you to ask your family if they can tell that this pastry is not pastry. Well, not normal wheat pastry, you know what I mean. So this pie is great. Now, you can change the innards of this pie, like I've said before. So if you wanted to do beef or lamb, venison, you could do a duck pie, you could do a mixed game pie, chicken and mushroom. There's so many different, look at me with my hands, chicken flapping around. So there's so many different recipes that you can do for this filling. I'm just doing this pork and sage one because it's one of my favourites and I had the leftovers. So I'm going to cut back to you as soon as this pork has got the temperature and my swede is ready. So I will be right back. Okay, so the pork is now up to temperature. The swede is done, it's still al dente. So I have strained off my swede and I'm just going to chuck that straight in. And give that a quick stir in so it's nice and evenly distributed. I want to add a tablespoon of mustard. Now I've only got this yellow mustard, so I'm going to add a little bit extra because a nice strong mustard would be preferable. And then stir that in. Now you may have noticed I've just taken it off the heat slightly while I do this. Okay, next, all my dry ingredients are in one bowl. I want to shake that all over and give that a really quick mix in so it coats everything, the flavours get right in there. Oh, I can smell that already. There we go, that's a nice little mix in. And then I want you to add your pre-bought stock. So in that goes. Again, if you've made your own stock, kudos points for you. And then give that a nice stir in until it starts to thicken. Now at the minute I'm letting this thicken in its own heat. There we go, that is thickening up quite nice now. Hopefully you can see that on the close-up. There we go, that is beautiful. That looks about right to me. So, I'm just going to give that a little taste. It tastes like, it's weird, it tastes like Christmas, and it tastes like Thanksgiving, and it tastes like Sunday roast dinner. It just tastes amazing, all in one. So I will be back to you as soon as that pastry has finished chilling. I've got about 30 minutes left. Okay guys, so welcome back. My pastry has been in the refrigerator for about an hour and 45 minutes. So I am ready for the next stage. So next, what we're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your pie dish, and you're going to empty all of the cooled down pork and sage mixture into your pie dish and spread it out. Just get all of that last bit in there. There we go. And spread it all out nice so you've got it all nice and covered. There we go. So, there is the first part. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we are going to get our pastry out of the fridge, and we're going to pop it in between two pieces of parchment and roll it out till it's the size of our pie. And then take your pastry out of the cling film and pop it in between the two pieces of parchment and gently start to roll it out. I've got a bit of a crack there, so I'm just going to push that bit together. You want it nice. You can still see there are lumps of butter in there, which is great. And just start to roll. If you do find that your pastry is too solid, just leave it out on the work side for a little while, just to warm up slightly, and you'll find it will be a bit easier to roll. Okay, so then pull back the top layer, grab your pie, just measure, that's about right, and then I'm going to turn this over onto the pie, he says, and on it goes. Then slowly pull back the parchment. There we go. Then you can use your other bits of pastry you've got left over to make a pattern on the top if you want. Okay. So what you're also going to want to do is you're going to want to put some steam holes in this. Now obviously, because of some of my pie pastry has fallen apart, that's absolutely fine. And there we go. Okay, so give this a nice brush of egg all over the top. You can use milk if you don't want to use egg. And there we go, into the oven. Okay, so now we are in the oven. We are going to leave that in there on 200 degrees and we're going to keep checking it. I'm going to leave it in for about 15 minutes and then I'm going to check it Quite often I need to turn things round in my oven, but it will be ready once that pastry is golden brown, and then it's ready to serve up. Okay, so it's been about 17 minutes mine's been in the oven. It's nice and golden brown, it's time to come out. And there we go. So, that is my pie done. Oh, where are we? There we are. That is my pie all done. So, I'm just going to leave that to cool slightly. You can see it's a lovely golden brown on the top, and that is it. You're all done. So if you've made this recipe, please tag me in it with #BakingWithBob or anything similar to this. If you've made a fruity pie, a meaty pie, whatever at all, give me a tag. If you've got any recommendations or requirements or suggestions, please hit me up on the social medias. Failing that, you can get me at bakingwithbob.co.uk, and that's it for another week. Thank you again for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Press the bell notification so you can be notified of future recipes and videos. And that's it. I will see you next time.